YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with an updated 3-round NFL mock draft with some trades. It all goes down next Thursday night. We'll be live with our reactions during day one of the NFL draft, so make sure you join us for that and all of our NFL draft content. Let's get to the mock. Titans first overall, Cam Ward. It's been that way since the combine. I don't plan on changing it. It'd be an absolute shocker if it was anything other than Ward. Browns at 2. It feels very likely it's going to be either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, one of the elite prospects. I'm thinking it's got to be Hunter. They desperately need a boost on offense. And Hunter, who I prefer at receiver, but he can give you a boost on either side of the ball. Maybe they shock the world and they do go quarterback. It did feel like it was going to be quarterback for a while, but it'd be too much of a reach. I'm going with Travis Hunter as of right now. Giants at 3, I think it's very likely they'll take whoever is remaining out of Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter, the two elite prospects. So in this case, they go Carter. They pair him with Burns, Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence on the inside. It's a loaded pass rush group, but just too good to pass on. But do they shock the world? Do they go something other than those two? Not really expecting it. Patriots at 4, I still have Will Campbell for them. I said in the last mock that I see myself mocking this going forward until the NFL draft, but something could come out and change my mind here, but they desperately need a left tackle for Drake May. This just seems like a really solid fit, and he played at a high level against high-level competition at that left tackle spot. Arm length checked out at the pro day, which sounds like teams are taking more serious. We've heard quotes from within the league. They're not worried about his arm length. He's just that good of a player. Teams aren't really expecting him to be there for them because he's going to go much earlier than maybe where some people are mocking him. I'm expecting him to go to the Patriots at 4. Jags at 5, I still have Mason Graham for them. It sure feels like they're going to go defensive tackle, so maybe they surprise everyone. They go to a different position, but do they surprise everyone and go Walter Nolan? So a different player at defensive tackle. I would actually be for that. I think you kind of got a 1A, 1B, 2 guys at that position that are very worthy of this pick, so I'm pretty high in Walter Nolan, but Mason Graham makes a lot of sense for them. That is my current prediction. Raiders at 6, an interesting pick. I mean, a lot of people are expecting Ashton Jeanty. It's what I'm predicting here, but they could go a couple different routes. I really think they'll consider Jahdae Barron the Texas corner. They badly need a corner, maybe multiple. I think they'll be pretty high on him. Of course, they could go Will Johnson, the Michigan corner. I think they'd be more likely to go Barron. Heard some buzz about Jalen Walker possibly going here, but for me, it's like 50-50 with Jeanty and Barron, but we go with the star running back. Pete Carroll says he's really going to value the trenches, but also running the football, and this really could boost this offense, which now they have a quarterback. So if you kind of balance that offensive talent out with the passing game, now the running game, it could really boost this team's performance this year. Jets at 7 go Armand Membu, right tackle from Missouri. The Jets do have a big-time opening at that right tackle spot, pairing with Fashanu. Could they surprise, go with a different tackle, someone like Josh Simmons? I think there's bound to be teams that are super high on him. It's just all about his medicals, but I'm predicting Membu to be the pick right now at 7. Panthers at 8, Jalen Walker, a little bit of a Swiss Army knife from Georgia. I believe he has to play multiple positions. You can't just stick him at off the edge full-time or off-ball linebacker full-time. You got to use him like that Swiss Army knife that he is, and that can create a lot of production and big plays. So he's a little tricky to mock because not every team's going to be interested in him. He's not going to be for every team, only going to fit certain teams. You have to have a plan for him. The Panthers would be interested here at 8, but I could see them taking any of the edge rushers here. Shamar Stewart, Michael Williams, Donovan Ezeraku, Mike Green. I could see them taking any of those guys, so this would be an interesting pick at 8. Maybe a little bit of a surprise pick here with the Saints at 9. A lot of chatter out there about Shedeur Sanders going 9 to the Saints because the recent Derek Carr injury. But him getting injured or having an injury, does that like all of a sudden make them in a situation where they have to force a quarterback pick that no one thought they were making before Derek Carr has some sort of shoulder situation? So I don't know if it makes a ton of sense. They still have a lot of building to do. They don't have a lot of, they're not great financially. So just keep building this team up. I think they'll value Omarion Hampton, what he brings to the table, the 1-2 punch at the running back position. They can win football games if they have this dominant rushing attack with Kamara and Hampton. And, Kamara's not going to be around forever either. So keep hearing that people around the league think it could be a Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs type draft with Jeanty and Hampton both going early. These guys are very valuable, so I'd watch out for Hampton in this range. But could also go in the back end of the first round too. So felt this was a solid landing spot as of right now for Hampton. Bears at 10 go left tackle from Texas, Calvin Banks, and I heard a little bit of buzz about this one recently, and he's a tricky one to mock. You could see him sliding to the back end of the first round. Not every team has him at left tackle. Some teams have him graded as a guard. So could the Bears trade back a little bit? It's definitely a possibility, but they're looking for a left tackle for now and the future. Braxton Jones hasn't really been the answer. He's got 1 year left in his deal. They also told him they want him to add a little bit more strength, maybe put a little bit more weight on. So that tells me, unless it's smoke, but that tells me they could be looking for a left tackle, but maybe they don't want the guys that could add more power like Simmons, like Connerly. So maybe they would be more interested in the guy that has a little bit more power in Calvin Banks Jr. So you do not see this one mocked at all, but I do think it's a possibility here. Perfect world, the Bears could trade back a little bit and maybe get him, but do you risk it? Bears recently aren't really afraid to trade up or make that splash trade, so I could see them doing that maybe for a different player as well if someone's specific starts to slide a little bit. 49ers at 11 go Walter Nolan, the Ole Miss defensive tackle. I'm a huge fan. He's top 5 on my board. A ton of upside. He's already an explosive pass rusher. Beats up double teams. I mean, he explodes off the ball better than any defensive tackle in this class. So I'm a big fan of Nolan. This would be awesome for him with the Niners. Pair him with that coaching staff, that defense, inside Nick Bosa. I mean, that'd be huge for San Francisco. Cowboys at 12 go Mykel Williams, Georgia pass rusher. Some rumors about them going receiver here, specifically Tetaroa McMillan. I don't know if I'm fully buying into that. I could see it, but I'm not really buying into it right now. Mykel Williams, I think this staff will just really like. They'll value his run-stopping ability and the physical traits that he has, and they'll value that he would be a replacement of DeMarcus Lawrence, a guy that stops the run at a high level, physical edge that stops the run at a high level, has upside as a pass rusher. So, is he the best pass rusher available? For me, no. For a lot of people, probably not, but is he the best DeMarcus Lawrence replacement if you look at it that way? He's probably the closest to him in that style of play, so I think the Cowboys will value that as long as they cleared him in terms of the medicals, because he was a little beat up last year. I'm sure every team's going to clear him because minor injury, he played injured, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. Dolphins at 13 go Josh Simmons, Ohio State offensive tackle. I love this fit. Mike McDaniel's outside zone scheme. Simmons is such a smooth, quick, explosive, fast mover. It's just such a fantastic fit. He has elite traits with how he explodes off his stance and how quick he moves, how fast he can get downfield. Just things you cannot coach. Just all about, maybe lacking a little bit of power, and he's coming off an injury, but this is a tremendous fit. Maybe the Dolphins like Patrick Paul, so maybe they don't need an offensive tackle. Really, only they know, but I'm thinking they could upgrade there, and Simmons can play either left or right for them, wherever they need him more. But I would say for them, probably left tackle more likely, but Simmons to the Dolphins is what I'm currently feeling. I still have Tyler Warren to the Colts. He could go a lot earlier in this. It's definitely a possibility, but in these scenarios, I have him available, and it's just such a perfect fit, a huge need for the Colts at the same time. Get the star tight end from Penn State. Falcons at 15 go Jahdae Barron, the Texas corner, can play outside and inside both at a high level, and those corners are so valuable these days. The guys that they're pretty versatile, could do both. Super good in zone coverage. The change of direction skills are just insane. Do not see that from corners in the draft too often. He has the ability to go a lot earlier in this. I could definitely see it. I really considered him at 6 with the Raiders, but I don't think he gets by this point. Falcons could use corner or edge here at 15. Back-to-back corners. Cardinals at 16 go at Will Johnson. Be curious to see how Barron and Johnson come off the board come draft day, but both instinctive zone coverage corners here. Pair him with Max Melton for the long haul. I mean, they have a couple other corners as well, but it's a pretty good young corner group there for Arizona moving forward if they do take Johnson. Bengals at 17 go Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M pass rusher. So much upside with him. He's actually my number 2 edge rusher. I'm trusting the traits here, but also what I see in tape. On tape, you cannot just look at the sack numbers. He explodes off the line. He can win with power. He can win with speed. And there are reps where he wins with those things that he does. It doesn't count as a pressure, but you got a lot to work with. So I think this all can turn into production going forward. So another pass rusher for Cincinnati to pair with hopefully Trey Hendrickson. Hopefully they can get him back. First trade of this mock draft. Of course, there probably could be trades that happen earlier. There's always chatter. There's always talk about top 10 trades because teams are calling and the rumors start heating up. But teams typically want to stay put and take that, that top 10 prospect. So there's always ends up being less trades in the top 10 or very early compared to what people think is going to happen. But of course, there could be trades up there. But Lions trade up to the Seahawks, pick and take Mike Green. The Lions do not have a ton of big needs, but edge is one of them. They want to get ahead of the Buccaneers and take that big-time pass rusher in Mike Green, who is a very skilled pass rusher, has a collection of moves, different ways he wins. He's a little undersized, and it shows at times, but he would really boost this Lions pass rush. So the Lions get 18. The Seahawks go back to 28. The Seahawks also get the Lions' second-round pick, so that's pretty big for them, even though they already have a couple, but they're just loading up on picks at this point. And the Lions also get a future pick, day 3 pick, to kind of even things up there. But the Seahawks do not necessarily have to trade back, but they're a team that does that, it feels like, in the past a bit, and then they'll be open to, if we make this, we're loaded on day 2 at picks, and we're still in round 1, and the draft is loaded on day 2, and we can come away with a pretty good haul overall, which they do have some needs. So I think there'll be the thinking there with Seattle, but the Lions go up and get their pass rusher, something I could definitely see happening. Buccaneers at 19 go edge rusher from Boston College, Donovan Ezaraku, getting a lot of buzz lately, super consistent in terms of production, really explosive get off, really good moves on the outside, just finding ways to get after the quarterback. So it just feels like a Buccaneers type pass rusher. They could be interested in Mike Green as well. The Lions just traded ahead of him, took him, definitely could see that happening, but Ezaraku is a guy to watch for Tampa. A guy to watch in general. He could end up going a lot earlier in this, getting a ton of buzz lately. Broncos at 20 go Travion Henderson, explosive running back from Ohio State. This is something I mocked last time. It was considered quite bold, but now there's a lot of talk about this. So I'm counting on it happening unless he's gone. I don't think he should be by this pick. It just feels like a Sean Payton, not only a Sean Payton pick where it's a little out there, doesn't really feel out there anymore, but it's also a Sean Payton type running back. So I'm expecting this one to happen here at pick 20. Steelers at 21 strongly consider Shedeur Sanders, the Colorado quarterback, who is still available, but really good fit here in Derek Harmon from Oregon. They also need a defensive tackle. They don't, they'll value this. They'll value Harmon, defensive tackle, as much as quarterback. So I think they would take Harmon here at 21. I still have the Chargers grabbing Colston Loveland, the Michigan tight end. If he's there, and they're all over it, but he could go earlier. It's just because he's such a good tight end prospect with his route running ability. Perfect world, I wish he was a little tougher after the catch, because that is pretty important for tight ends. So how will teams, where will they rank him, view him because of that compared to Warren? But if he's there, this has to be the pick for the Chargers. Harbaugh would be a big fan, obviously. Packers at 23 go Matthew Golden, Texas wide receiver. They could go Golden. They could go Tetairoa McMillan here. They're both still on the board. I think both these receivers, I think people are debating who goes early. Why do they could go early, but why do they have to go early? Why can't receivers go down here? I mean, remember the draft with JSN, Jordan Addison, Johnson, Zay Flowers, there was a run on them down here, so I could totally see that. And the Packers would prefer Golden with his speed and quickness, the twitchy route running ability, possibly over McMillan, but I could see either one here. But this would give the Packers receiver core a pretty big boost here. Another trade, the Giants move up and get their quarterback, the guy they've done a ton of work on, that is Shedeur Sanders, the Colorado quarterback. Bring him in the room with Russ and Jameis Winston. They don't have to start him right away, but he would surely be the starter going into 2026. If not, maybe right away in 2025. But the Giants go up to 24. The Vikings get 34, 99, and 105. So they take themselves out of the first round completely, but they get a third and a fourth round pick. The Giants still keep their early third round pick in this scenario. So the Vikings only have 4 total picks. They gain a couple extra. The Giants go up and get their quarterback in Sanders. So they come away with Carter and Sanders. Here's one you don't see mocked a ton, but Tetairoa McMillan still on the board. I think teams will be split on him, and the Texans grab him. Too good to pass. Pair him with Nico Collins and Christian Kirk. That'd be quite the receiver trio for C.J. Stroud there. And I know he's a big body receiver. Nico Collins is. You can make both work. I like McMillan almost as a guy that you a chess piece. You kind of move around a bit. He's not what everyone thinks, purely a boundary receiver. You got to use him over the middle of the field. You could even put him in the slot at times, even though Kirk will start there. So pretty interesting pick here for Houston. If he's available, do they go him? I know they're pretty desperate for offensive line as well, but it'd be pretty interesting if he's available. Rams at 26 go Trey Amos, Ole Miss corner. Big fan. I feel like he's got to go first round with the instincts he has, how good he is in press, but how good he is at zone as well, which the Rams run a lot of. So I think he's clearly in the top 3 corner conversation. So he comes off the board at 26 here. The Rams should be pretty desperate for a corner, maybe a linebacker as well. Ravens at 27, James Pierce Jr., Tennessee pass rusher. He could drop a little bit because of attitude, character concerns, it sounds like, but he's too damn talented to get by this point. A really good fit with the Ravens, who are looking for a pass rusher. They typically like the athletic ones that fit their defense and guys that can actually drop in coverage. Tennessee did that with Pierce. He actually played off the ball in some reps. He actually looked pretty decent there, given he is a pure pass rusher off the edge. So this is a really good scheme fit here. For the Ravens if he falls in their lap. So again, we had the Lions and the Seahawks trading in this mock. The Seahawks go back to 28. They get another second round pick, so they're loaded in the sweet spot of the draft on day 2. And they still get a big-time player that they could use, Donovan Jaxson. I'm a huge fan. Love him at guard, left guard specifically. He also can play tackle if you need him to. This would be awesome for the Seahawks. Get another second-round pick and still add Donovan Jaxson. It would be huge, and I think it's realistic. The third trade of this mock draft, the Saints go up to get their quarterback of the future. That maybe looks a little bit more like a need now, but that, again, to me, it doesn't mean force one super early. Commanders trade back a little bit. They add a late third and a late fourth. They could use some more picks, partly due to the Saints-Commanders Marshawn Lattimore trade, but I definitely could see them moving back to get more picks. But Jaxson Dart, to me, is the best fit for Kellen Moore's offense. RPO, play action. I've actually at times compared him to a little less mobile Jalen Hurts. Even though Dart is mobile, he's just not quite Jalen Hurts. But some similarities in what their strengths are as a passer. There's really nothing elite to their game when it comes to the passing traits, but everything's really solid. There's no glaring weaknesses. So I love this fit. He doesn't have to start right away. Maybe Carr's good to go, or they could start Rattler right away, just because I'd prefer Dart to just sit and learn unless he's ready. Then I'm good with it. But the Saints move up, get the fifth-year option on their quarterback, who I think is the best. Besides Cam Ward, he's not going to be there. But Dart, to me, would be the best fit for that Kellen Moore system there in New Orleans. This would be an A-plus scenario for the Buffalo Bills. So we see teams trading up for a couple quarterbacks, Shedeur, Sanders, Jaxson Dart. What could that cause? It could cause some really good players to fall back. And in this case, it was Kenneth Grant, who, I could even see him going around the top 10 because he's so unique. He's so rare. Just a physical run stuffer that has some upside of getting after the quarterback, guy that will take on double teams and create for his teammates. So this would be perfect for the Buffalo Bills, exactly what they need. Imagine if they had a guy like this in the AFC Championship game. They would have been in the Super Bowl. So this would be massive for them, and it kind of gives you an idea. Like if teams trade up for quarterbacks, some big time players are gonna slide a little bit. Pretty much happens every single draft. But hey, there's also a possibility of just one quarterback, Cam Ward, going in the first round just because how weak of a class it is. Chiefs go Josh Connerly Jr. I could see him going a lot earlier as well. I just feel like the Chiefs are going to take the best available offensive lineman at this point. I think Connerly's a little underrated. He's gotten better and better as the year went on. He's very quick, very fast. I feel like he's improved his anchoring ability. People knock him on that, but if earlier in his career to now, you see the difference, obviously. So Chiefs upgrade at left tackle, even though they did sign more in free agency. Before we get to round 2 and round 3, the Eagles, Super Bowl champs, picking 32, take Tyler Booker, just too good to pass. He's also a scheme fit, a physical guard. So, maybe not the biggest need, but again, too good to pass, and it just helps their offensive line. Remember, they lost Becton, put Booker in there, just a plug and play, day one starter, and just boost that offensive line. Second round, including some of those trade scenarios that we went over in the first round. But Tyler Shuck getting a lot of buzz lately, known as a pro-ready quarterback. There's an unnamed coach out there that has said he's predicting him to be the best quarterback from this class. Is it smoke? We'll see. But the Browns, who's still looking for the quarterback future, go at Shuck at 33. Vikings, remember they had to trade with the Giants, so they go back to 34. They take Nick Monwari, safety from South Carolina, elite physical and athletic traits, but lacking some instincts as well. Needs to be coached up. But under Brian Flores, learning from Harrison Smith, perfect scenario. Could see him going in the first round just because the traits are eye-popping. Titans, I had this last time with Burden and Igbuka. Wanted to give the Titans Kyle Williams because he played with Cam Ward 2 years ago, but Burden too good to pass on. Talented enough to be in the first round. Receivers drop a little bit in the scenario. Igbuka, I think a perfect slot option for Liam Cohen's offense. Raiders go Jihad Campbell. They could go with him at 6. I don't think so. I wouldn't recommend it, but this would be a really good pick for them. But some chatter about maybe some durability concerns with him. Maybe smoke, but being a linebacker as well. Maybe he could slide to early second. Jaden Higgins for the Patriots, another Iowa State receiver, getting a lot of buzz. big-time outside receiver the Patriots could use. Alfred Collins for the Bears at 39. Super lengthy run stuffer from Texas. Has the traits you look for. I mean, he is the best pure run stuffer in this class. He immediately upgrades that run defense, which the Bears could use. He definitely needs to work on his consistency as a pass rusher, but if he can figure that out, he can end up being a big-time player down the road. JT Tuimoloau, remember the Commanders and Saints swap picks here in a trade we had. Big fan of Tuimoloau, edge rusher from Ohio State, a guy that I think is far and away that best pass rusher after the big-name guys in the first round. I wouldn't be against taking Tuimoloau in the first round. I like him that much. Super instinctive. He can play up or down. He can drop in coverage. He stops the run. He can win with power. He's explosive enough. He doesn't have elite explosives, but explosive enough. One of my favorite players in the draft. I like him in Dan Quinn's defense here. Bears with another second-round pick. I mocked this one a little bit. Caleb Johnson for Ben Johnson's offense. I love that fit. The Iowa running back is a really good outside zone runner, and he's got incredible vision. Maybe the best vision in the class. He sees the hole. He hits it right away. He can work on some moves after the line of scrimmage. Right now, he's kind of a straight-line runner, but he's got some power to him as well. Mason Taylor, the tight end from LSU, going to the Jets at 42. Gray Zabel slips a little bit. The Niners would love to have him either for guard or center. Would be a great fit in Shanahan's offense. Jalen Noel for the Cowboys, that receiver that they need. Going to be a big-time slot receiver, a safe pick. Really good fit here with Jonas Savai-Naya from Arizona. He could play right tackle in the future when Braden Smith is done, because it's kind of nearing that, but he could start at right guard right away. Landon Jaxson, athletic freak that also has some length. For the Falcons, who badly need a pass rusher if they don't take one in the first round, Ariante Ursary might have to move to that right tackle spot for the Cardinals, the Minnesota tackle. He's interesting, too, because he played an outside zone scheme at Minnesota, but he's got a lot of size and power to him, so an intriguing prospect. Malachi Stark slipped through a little bit just because how much value does he bring at the safety position? A very good safety, very good free safety, but he needs a zone team in the play, again, either split or free safety, because he didn't play well in the slot this year, so he could slip a little bit. Dolphins would love to upgrade with him at safety. Bengals, 49, Savone Revel from East Carolina. This is a first-round talent with first-round traits corner all day long, but coming off an injury, and he's had multiple injuries in the past. He's a little bit older of a prospect. So where do you take him? The talent says first round. I think someone can get a steal down here. So the Bengals grab him. Seahawks grab Maxwell Harrison from Kentucky. He plays a little too far off the ball for my liking. I think you could fix that, though. He has elite athleticism. Joshua Farmer, elite length. I'm a big fan of Farmer. He explodes off the ball. Broncos grab him at 51. Marcus Bowe, and the Seahawks would grab him in this scenario to play center, but he could play guard, and he could fill that right tackle if there's an injury, so he can help the Seahawks in multiple ways. Carson Schwessinger, linebacker from UCLA, good fit in Bowles' blitzing scheme, how he wants to use those linebackers. Can they cover? Can they blitz? Checks both those boxes. Nick Scorton from A&M for the Packers. Solid fit there. A guy that could be on the field every single down. Has a lot of upside. Tyleik Williams for the Chargers. They need some run-stopping help. They get it here with Williams. Benjamin Morrison to the Bills. Another first-round talent corner. He showcased that in 2023, even before that. But coming off an injury from this season, so where does he go in the draft? And the Bills would love to have him here at 56. Panthers at 57 grab Kyle Williams, the explosive receiver from Washington State. Badly need a receiver there in Carolina. They grab one here in round 2. Texans grab Ozzie Trapelo, Boston College right tackle. I think he'd be a plug-and-play guy for them at right tackle. Ravens go Tate Ratledge. It's be a Ravens pick, a nasty physical guard they definitely could use help at. Seahawks, remember we had them trading with the Lions. They picked up the Lions' second-round pick here, and they grabbed Trey Harris, receiver from Ole Miss. They could definitely use a physical outside receiver with some size. Commanders, Quinshon Judkins would be a great addition for them, the Ohio State running back. They are looking to upgrade there at that running back one spot. Princely McMillan, super lengthy edge rusher from Ole Miss, went off against Georgia. That's a pretty big game to have on your resume there. The Bills typically like these guys that have the traits of McMillan. Chiefs go Shamar Turner, be a good option to replace Wharton. Explosive, athletic freak, just a little underweight for right now, but I think a good landing spot for the Texas A&M D tackle, Shamar Turner, to end up with the Chiefs. Then Andrew Makuba, one of my favorite players in the draft, the Texas safety, formerly was with Clemson as well, but super instinctive, can play multiple spots. He's light, so he might drop. He's super light, but you wouldn't know it by the way he plays. He's fearless getting downhill. This feels like a perfect C.J. Gardner-Johnson replacement for the Philadelphia Eagles at 64. Third round, Giants at 65. Miles Frazier, I think, is a bit underrated. Would be a plug-and-play guard. Plug-and-play guy at right guard, in my opinion, for the Giants. Cam Skadaboo, love the fit with the Chiefs. Nasty runner, can catch the ball out of the backfield, downfield very well. Love that fit. Dylan Sampson, so running back starting to come off the board here. Touchdown machine from Tennessee to the Browns. Zaire Thomas dropped a little bit in this scenario. And it could happen due to his speed, which teams take very, very seriously at that corner position. Ran like a 4.58. Not often you see corners work out that are on the slower side like that. But he's only 20. Could obviously improve his speed, but a really good press corner. More running backs. Damian Martinez, physical pass protector, got some wiggle to him to the Patriots. Kevin Winston, Penn State safety, spent a lot more of his time at free safety. And again, he was injured this year, but free safety, I think he moved to strong safety or the ability to play both. Makes a lot of sense. Noah Williams for the Saints, definitely could use another corner. I like his physicality. I think the Saints would love it too. Bears go at Jordan Birch, the Oregon pass rusher. Dennis Allen typically looks for the physical edge rushers here. Birch falls in that category. Her teams are pretty split on him. There's teams that are like super, super high on him, like higher than this, and there's teams that are lower than this on him. So that's one of those guys everyone's really split. Not just split, but big time. Jets grab Darius Alexander, a guy that could definitely be a round 2 guy, but a little older of a prospect, been playing against weaker competition. The MAC is very underrated. Jacob Parrish, big fan of him. He's only 5'9", but man, he plays like he's a lot bigger. He's always up in someone's face. He gets downhill. He can hit. He can play outside and inside. Reminds me of Max Melton from last year, who I was a fan of. A little bit of McDuffie in him as well. Big fan. Braden Swinson, edge rush from LSU, super explosive, very solid, getting after the quarterback. He could be better setting the edge. That's his problem. It was his problem at Oregon, but he could get better at it. TJ Sanders, D-tackle from South Carolina, going to the Cowboys, and they could definitely use another interior defensive lineman. Patriots go Femi Oladeo, edge rush from UCLA. He was an off-ball linebacker, turned edge rusher. A lot of upside there. Stops running at a very high level. Kind of a Swiss Army knife. Can move around a bit. Just feels like a Patriots-type guy there. Ty Felton, major fan of him. Super athletic, but tracks the ball well down the field. Cardinals could grab a receiver around these parts of the draft. Jared Wilson, super athletic center from Georgia. Could be a plug-and-play guy for Houston. Danny Stutzman. I like Danny Stutzman a lot, too. The Oklahoma linebacker. Good leader. Very likable guy. But, man, this is probably the best linebacker in this class when it comes to just reading the run correctly, getting downhill, filling run fits, filling the correct gap and making the tackle, making the hit. So Colts definitely could use a linebacker like a Danny Stutzman. Bengals grab Xavier Watts, safety from Notre Dame. So back with Al Golden. Some talk about some teams having a 4th round grade on Xavier Watts, which is crazy, but that could cause him to drop. But he doesn't have the athletic or physical traits, so I guess that's why. But it's a big-time playmaker. Vernon Broughton, huge fan. A lot of traits to work with. Just kind of getting going. We saw in the playoffs, he was really good. In the Arizona State game, he was unstoppable. Could not be blocked. So Seahawks, Mike McDonald, I think they would like him, get the most out of him. Jalen Milroe, part of me thinks that all the Milroe Steelers talk could be smoke because there's so much of it, but he's still available here. Steelers grab maybe that quarterback of the future, or maybe right now. Darian Porter, lengthy, speedy zone corner for the Buccaneers. Terrence Ferguson, the tight end from Oregon, good fit with Bo Nix. 85, we had this last time. Jack Besh, I think a really safe pick, in my opinion, just because he's a sure-handed guy, good route runner. Just not super flashy, I suppose, but for the Chargers. CJ West, definitely undersized, but, man, he's got power, and he's got some athleticism as well. He's just got a really good tape. Like, the tape says early round 2, but doesn't have the measurables you look for. But big fan of his game. Packers grab him at 87. Gunnar Helm, a physical tight end for Liam Cohen in the Jags at 88. I believe I had that last time as well. Harold Fannin Jr. Some of these tight ends could drop a little bit, or they can go a lot earlier in this, but Fannin, is he an NFL type tight end? Do you have to scheme things for him? Is he more of a slot receiver? So that would be the questions with him, but he's super talented. So Texans can't pass him on an 89 here. Smile Mondone Jr. from Georgia, high upside linebacker, very rangy, can play inside, can play outside, can drop in coverage. Not only can drop in coverage, Georgia lined him up in the slot at times, and he was a smooth mover out there against some slot options. So he's a guy I like a lot as well. Billy Bowman Jr., safety, a versatile safety. He could play back end, or he could play in the slot For the Ravens, Josiah Stewart just seems like a good Mike McDonald fit, an edge rusher that can drop in coverage there at 92. Seattle had so many picks in this mock. Emory Jones, or this was part of a trade we did in this mock with the Saints. LSU offensive tackle for Jaden Daniels. They could put him in at right tackle maybe right away. Super lengthy, little inconsistent. Got to kind of put it all together, but has upside if you can. Anthony Belton, just too good to pass. A future tackle here for the Browns. Wyatt Millam could be a plug-and-play guy at left guard for the Chiefs, but he has experience playing tackle. So, I mean, if he has to fill in, he can do that as well. J.J. Pegues feels like an Eagles pick, a defensive tackle that can play any alignment. He's even played off the edge at times. Not that they would do that, but not going to be stuck in one spot. But he also played some offense on some gadget plays. If they ever take away the tush push for good, you can go with a Pegues push. I could totally see the Eagles doing that. Just seems like a good fit. A little bit of a wild card pick here at 97. The Vikings take Elijah Arroyo. They got a couple good tight ends, but they don't have much depth. How long is Hawkins going to be around for? Oliver got one more left in his deal. Arroyo, phenomenal pass-catching tight end, still on the board here. Jack Sawyer to the Dolphins. I think he's going to go a little lower, a little later than people think. A little bit too much hype. Lacking length, very tight, but makes some big plays. But this is kind of more of his range. Charles Grant, another guy getting a lot of hype. I'd pump the brakes a little bit because he might have to move to guard, and he played against weak competition, but there's a lot to like. He's speedy, pretty lengthy as well. Vikings can move him to left guard, a good fit in Kevin O'Connell's system there, blocking scheme, outside zone scheme there. Demetrius Knight, rangy, physical, downhill linebacker, makes some flashy plays. Could be the Dre Greenlaw replacement. Quinn Ewers to the Rams has flashed some round one tape, just not consistent, and dealt with some durability issues. I could totally see him behind Matthew Stafford, a good gig there for him to eventually take over. And then some competition from Mahogany here at guard for the Lions, Dylan Fairchild, who's kind of being slept on a little bit from Georgia. So there you have it. These 3-round mocks are a lot of work, especially when you factor in the trades, but a lot of fun doing these. We'll have more mock drafts leading up to the NFL draft and a lot of other content. Check out our recent videos. Join us for the day one live stream. It's always a lot of fun. A couple other guys join me. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on so you don't miss anything. We much appreciate. Follow us on Twitter for day 2 and day 3 reactions. But can't wait. I can't wait. It's almost here. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.